Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It's Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. Seems to be flood day on Manitoulin Island where I live, but this is also last week today. We're a compilation of the most important stories of the week from both legacy and new media. My name is Chuck Black, and my partner in crime tonight is the very dry Richard Gagnon. Richard, how's it going?
Well, it's not really dry here, but it's a lot drier than where you're at.
I was telling you before we started, I got 6 inches of water in the basement. I've got calls into 3 plumbers, but so does just about everybody else of the 14,000 residents on the island. The major town nearby, Mindemoy, is totally flooded. Worst of all, the home hardware is flooded. Nobody's able to get into home hardware to buy nails. So major catastrophe going on here.
Yeah, and they can't get into home hardware to get any boards or anything or sandbags or anything like that.
Absolutely not. Suppose somebody needs plumbing tools.
Well, there's that too.
What's it like over where you are?
Well, it's overcast and it was raining heavily yesterday. Today it's just been sort of drizzling on and off. I got little puddles of water in places, but that's just where the potholes are. So it's not too bad. I went to town to Seymour Arm for getting the postage stuff done today, postal stuff, and talked with the mailman while he was filling up the boxes, and he said that the main road is wet, but it's still difficult. But he did note that the grader is down at the bottom of the road at kilometer 0.
Oh, wow.
So that means that the grader's nearby, which means that the road is going to get fixed in the next week or so, hopefully.
That is good. That is good. Shall we go on to the news of the world now that we've told about the locals?
All the local news is done. Yeah, okay.
Shall we go?
Yep.
Our first piece tonight is I'm going to start honestly, fairly, and rationally. Journalism sucks in Canada. So we're going to start off the main story tonight with the April 14th New York Times Post, Elections and Defections, Unshackle Canada's Liberals under Carney. And this story notes the obvious, that after 5 recent floor crossings from opposition party members and 3 by-election victories yesterday, Prime Minister Mark Carney has transformed his minority government into a slim but functional majority in the House of Commons. Now he no longer has to consult with anybody. And I would argue that there has been an awful lot of pushback against the Carney Liberals, particularly on X. And I'm going to try something a little different tonight. Let's see if I can pull up this screen that I like to share. Is it coming? There it goes. And here we are on X. That's Mark Carney's original statement. And to be fair, everybody disagrees with his statement. He wants to do all those great platitudes for Canada. But if you go down a little bit, Andy Lee, somebody I often listen to, she says, I feel compelled at this point to interject that the only reason you are even here today is because your predecessor screwed up so badly that he had to prorogue Parliament to escape the rampant scandal sinking your government. And no one gave you anything. Somebody else, Intense, noted that the Auditor General report showed these Liberal ministers allowed 150,000 cases of suspected immigration fraud to go uninvestigated. Carney promoted these people, and they are still in the Liberal cabinet. This is Lena Diab, Sean Fraser, and Mark Miller. And somebody else mentioned, all the times that Carney promised affordable housing for Canadians, all the way back to the Liberals in 2017. Looks like he's done it 9 times since then. Looks like once a year. Oh, yes. Liberals want to amend the term by-elections to by-elections. As you can see, there's an awful lot of dislike for Canada's majority government. The rhetoric, according to J.D. Thunder, is we are building the strongest economy in the G7. And the reality, according to J.D. Thunder, is Canada's economy is on life support and country is in recession. This is according to a February 2026 Bloomberg story. And it goes on and on. Here's a graphic. Dave's Canada has not been an international embarrassment. Someone mentioning Carney's connection to Brookfield. It goes on and on. Obviously, our Canada's Prime Minister is not well respected in Canada. Although
or the world, really.
What?
Or the world, really.
Maybe. Certainly the English don't like him. After all, he was Bank of England for a while, and he did to them what he's trying to do to us.
Yep.
Now, according to opposition leader Pierre Poilievre, let's pull this up right now. He also posted on X yesterday. He said the Carney Liberals did not win a majority government through a general election or through today's by-election. Instead, it was won through backroom deals with politicians who betrayed the people who voted for them. And the Bloc, they called out the Liberals and the Conservatives for being a uniparty, which I think is kind of funny, since the Bloc supported the Liberals to pass Bill C-9. So everybody's a little sarcastic and snickety around here. But here's a video on the Bloc, just to show you we're trying to be fair to everybody.
Your reaction to the floor crossing this morning?
It is a proof or a strengthening of a majority that the Liberals wanted and already had. It is no more part of the campaign in Terrebonne. No one can come here and say, you should give us a majority. They have it. They had it already. And since during the whole campaign, they said nothing but that. They didn't come out on ownership, accessibility for young families. They didn't come out about the buying powers of elders. They didn't come out about what should be done to make the ALTO thing an acceptable thing for the population. They said nothing about all those issues. So now they find themselves 5 days before the vote with nothing else than pictures of Mark Carney out there.
This floor crossing, what does it mean for Pierre Poilievre?
I will let Mr. Poilievre consider it for himself, but it does show that each day that passes demonstrates that the ideological differences between the Liberals and the Conservatives are getting thinner and thinner by the minute. And if you are a progressive Liberal in that Liberal caucus, you must start asking yourself, who the hell is talking for me in that caucus and in that party? The only party that still stands strongly with the population who supports this idea that there is a problem called climate change and that something has to be done, and it's even good for our economy to do something about climate change, is the Bloc Québécois.
Oh my God, the crocodile tears.
Yeah, he lost me when he talked about climate change. It's you're just a fool. You don't understand it.
He argues that the only issue was climate change, except for last month when Bill C-9 was the issue.
Right.
The Bloc has supported the Liberals off and on for the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
I don't know. I thought that, but what do you personally think of the election results?
They went the way I expected it to.
What does that mean?
The Liberals would get their majority government.
Yeah, fair enough. I find it amusing that the Bloc was calling out the Liberals and the Conservatives for being a uniparty.
Hmm.
I find that the Bloc is it has policies about the same as the Liberals, about the same as the Conservatives, but
Right.
they want extra money for Quebec.
Yep. Yep. I don't understand why everybody wants money. It has no value.
Well, it has temporary value. You can buy groceries with it. You can buy gas with it.
Yeah. The only thing that it is it's a piece of paper that allows you to barter. That's it.
Essentially, yes. I mean, it got and you were required every April or May to pay your taxes with it, I think.
Or no, your social insurance number is required to be filed,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not required to do anything to pay
Yeah,
taxes.
fair enough.
Yeah, because as a matter of fact, I was going to do that today. I was just going to work on my social insurance number business,
Mm-hmm.
which is a dead corporation, and
Okay.
just basically do the paperwork for that. Because apparently I get a bonus here for this GST top-up thing that they're talking about.
Yeah, I've noticed that we all get bonuses if we fill out our proper government paperwork.
Yep, and you don't need to pay anything to do that.
No, that's fair. But I also know that once I'm registered, I pay away a third of my income. If I get a job or anything like that, I pay away a third of my income, and then at the
Yes.
end of the year, they give me back usually a sixth, maybe an eighth of my income, and then I feel good because I got some money that they stole from me back.
But you got to realize that you're not you don't have to pay that. If you read through all that stuff, you're not obligated to pay anything.
I understand that completely, but if I worked at Foodland, right? You know that for the last 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And I said I didn't want to pay that. I'm not obligated to pay that. And the PR company that does the payroll for Foodland said, we don't care. We're going to give it to them anyway.
But if you write them a letter stating that they're not allowed to, then they won't do it.
They tend to ignore me more than not.
Well,
I had an accountant write a letter to them, and they ignored me anyway.
Well, my understanding from the real tax people, that as long as you provide them with a letter stating that they are not to withhold, then they can't withhold.
I'm open to examples from people who've done that and how it turned out for them. Absolutely.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, it's important that you can you know that can be done, and you just have to have the guts to do it, and you can't have fear. No fear.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's move on. There are a number of federal initiatives officially expected to be fast-tracked in Parliament over the next few weeks because, well, the Carney Liberals don't got to get anybody to agree with them. The first one that I'm expecting to come down the pipeline is more AI and big tech regulation. The official reason will be to protect Canadian data and establish a sovereign cloud tech infrastructure. The more subtle reason will be so that the Canadian government can keep track of everything we see and do. There will also be expedited new trade deals by Canadian policies, further implementation of the One Canada Economy Act that came out last fall in the last budget. The idea is to reduce interprovincial barriers and diversify exports away from the U.S. But this is all fluff. The Carney government can announce almost anything as a success under their Buy Canada policies. One thing I wrote before I read the news this morning: another potential gas tax suspension or removal, plus expansion of other tax credits and housing measures intended to tackle inflation and living costs. Carney's a banker. He knows that if you do what you're supposed to do to make him happy, he'll give you a few bucks back. And they've already lowered the cost. They've decreased some of the carbon taxes at the gas pump earlier today, and I would imagine it goes through the system sometime before tomorrow. Carney is also supposed to set up a number of other bills to boost NATO spending. He insists that we're up to 2%. He insists we need more to speed up military acquisitions and strengthen sovereignty. I want to see what he really does. He has a lot of social justice warrior stuff in his military procurement budgets. I want to see what he really does. But then again, he's got a majority government. It doesn't really matter what we see over the next 3 or 4 years. Carney can do whatever he wants. And this is one thing I also expect him to do, something nobody wants. Carney will fast track clean and conventional energy projects. There's a lot of programs on the back burner, things like interprovincial grids, pipelines, and doubled home building rates that he's promised. Depending on the climate change regulations that he's going to allow to stand. I would also argue that there are a number of other unofficial areas of concern. There is a leaked Liberal document that came out last night called the Sanctuary Nation Act. It's expected to move forward soon, and it's essentially supposed to pardon everybody who snuck into the country illegally. That's probably several million people. He's probably going to change some of the regulations for people coming across the border, and this came out. This is something Carney didn't promise. This is something he didn't ask about during the election, but it seems to have come out of the Liberal Party convention a couple days ago. There is also something he did mention before, but hasn't mentioned for a week or so. This is his massive $51 billion federal plan to address infrastructure gaps across Canada. He's made a lot of promises about what he wants. He's presented a lot of PowerPoints. There's even a list of projects he wants to get involved with. And he actually passed a law a couple months ago saying that, he can avoid rules and regulations, pretty much anything except in a criminal code, in an effort to get the infrastructure gaps closed across Canada. And one final thing I think Carney is going to deal with fairly quick. He's going to start dealing with all of the ambiguities of something we mentioned before, the recently passed Bill C-9, the anti-religious law, the censorship law. Almost all of this stuff still needs to be worked out. I remember the old days when you passed a law, you knew what was going to happen. Nowadays, the government passes a generic law and they leave it to the bureaucracy to work out the details. Richard, I'm diatribed out. What do you think?
Yeah, all these things they're going to be being shoved down our throats, or shoved down the slaves' throats, not the people. The people who are smart to this are going to completely ignore everything that he's doing, and not deal with it at all. Which is basically, well, that's where I'm at anyways. I'm going to ignore everything he does.
I'm open. I accept that people like you and me, living mostly out in the country, are subject to different constraints from people who live in the city. But I know if gas goes down, or if housing costs go up, or taxes go up, I got to pay that. There's no way I can get around that. Even if the money
there's some taxes. Yeah, same thing. Same here. I mean, there's some taxes that I do end up paying for now, but I think all that'll come back to me.
Yeah. Any comments about Pierre Poilievre? Evidently, he seems like a nice enough guy, but I found him kind of wussy over the last year, and like obviously his cock, because it's what? He's like
an appendix. He's a useless appendage.
See, I was trying to be nice. I kind of think you're right. I don't think he did anything all that good.
No, not at all. So, anyways, I don't believe in that in that particular party, but because he's not a good leader.
Yeah, I would argue that the Bloc might be right. They're sleazy. They cry crocodile tears. They're slimy as all outdoors. But they were right. The fact that all these politicians can slip back and forth between the Liberal and the Conservative Party, it just doesn't look good.
Yeah, I saw a comment, a couple of comments on this. These people who are crossing the line, walking across the border, so to speak, they should be forced to have a new election if they've done that, because their constituents did not vote for them.
I agree. Their constituents didn't vote for that, particularly what's her name, who crossed over a week or so ago. I forget her name.
Yeah. She shouldn't have been allowed to cross like that.
I think so. We should have called by-elections. That will be something that will probably be addressed in the future, but not this week.
Not by Carnage.
Yeah, I hope it comes out. I mean, I'm told that 9 or 10 other politicians are being wooed by the Liberal Party.
That's what I heard.
It would be nice to know what they're being wooed with. Is it outright bribes, or is it getting their family out of jail, or is it something good for the community these people were elected in? Who knows?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But I'd like to find out.
I'd like to find out too.
Shall we go on to our next piece?
Sure.
Here we go. I can't. Also in the news this week, for some reason, I really like that graphic. We're going to start with Canada. In Canada this week, new polls from Ledger and Angus Reid released this week showed Alberta separatism climbing to 23%, with some surveys coming close to 30%. This proportion of the population wanting to leave Canada is up noticeably since the start of 2026. I bet it'll be up another 5 points when the election results are taken into account. Now, according to Angus Reid and Leger, while a clear majority still want to remain in Canada, the increase reflects deepening frustration over federal policies, resource revenue sharing, and perceived Ottawa interference. Now, the same series of polls also showed the United Conservative Party maintaining a strong lead over the NDP, but the independence conversation is gaining traction ahead of, I think it's in October 2026, ahead of the scheduled provincial-led referendum on multiple sovereignty-related questions. Now, the April 13th, 2026 Zero Hedge post under the title, "The Exit: Why Alberta Will Leave Canada," argues that leaving Canada is cost effective, and everyone out in Western Canada knows this. Zero Hedge is an American publication. They mostly deal with American topics. The fact that they spent some time and effort dealing with it suggests that, at least to them, the numbers are pretty obvious. I also note the April 13th Better Dwelling post under the title, "Canadian Job Market Booms in West, Slumps in East. Gap is expected to widen," according to Bank of Montreal. And BMO notes that it's easier to get a job out west. And according to their post, markets in Western Canada are largely improving, while Eastern Canada, Southern Ontario in particular, dominates among the worst performing cities. Now, the bank warns this divergence won't be resolved anytime soon and is expected to widen at least over the next several months. Who knows? Maybe Alberta will be leaving Canada sometime soon. Richard?
Yeah, I think it'll be a couple of years before that happens, but
Eh.
it is the way it's been moving now for the last 15 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's moving in the direction to leave Canada and become its own country. But again, it's going to take time to do that.
I note that Prime Minister Carney has had not a lot of success in maintaining the auto pact with the U.S. and attracting new automobile manufacturers to Southern Ontario. I think that's a big failure on his part.
Yep. Yeah. That's just something that, well, Alberta has the oil, Ontario has the ability to build cars, but everybody seems to be worried about what Trump's going to do. Well, don't worry what Trump's going to do. Trump's going to do what Trump's going to do. Just go ahead and do things like start building new cars. Take those factories over and start producing Canadian-made cars. They don't
build our own cars. I remember mentioning this several times before. Up until the 1960s, we had like 20 or 30 full car brands in Ontario and Quebec. Magna and Stellantis, they were in existence, providing automobile parts to hundreds of other manufacturers. They came into business in the 1970s. We could certainly build our own cars again. The idea that we don't know how to build cars is like dumb as a bag of hammers.
Exactly. And I'm starting to see that there is a push to get Canada to start building things again.
Yes.
And I said this a few years ago. The billionaires of Canada have to stand up and do the right thing. So slowly it might be happening. Who knows?
The worldwide supply chains are breaking down. The people who can build local distributed supply chains in Canada, who can tie the country together, they are the ones who are going to win over the next 20 or 30 years. I don't see why they're locked into an old supply chain that everybody acknowledges is breaking apart.
Yep. Everybody says, "Oh, we got to bring it in from other countries." No, we don't. Keep on saying that. We don't need that.
Absolutely correct. I remember going off on only a slight tangent. I remember a program at the University of Manitoba engineering faculty about 10 years ago at this point, and they built entire street legal automobiles using parts built from 3D printers. And you know, those people are 10 years older. The students are now into their peak earning years. They could build a car whenever someone gave them anytime they wanted to.
Yep.
Pushing them off to do idiot work, building fenders or electronics is just plain old dumb.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else before going on to our next piece?
Oh, let's carry on.
We don't talk about Canada only on this show. And I don't know how to talk about our next story. Following a week of extreme volatility, including U.S. President Donald Trump's threat that a whole civilization will die, well, nothing happened. Both the U.S. and Iran reached a 2-week ceasefire deal on April 7th. Unfortunately, that deal almost immediately died. And the Israel-U.S. war against Iran has been a maelstrom of confusion ever since. Now, the chain of activity for the rest of the week was interesting, and in the macro, it looked fascinating. It said a lot of things, but when you just see these stories coming at you, you miss a lot of it. So we're going to start with April 8th and the April 8th Al Jazeera Post, which gave the reason for the breakdown in the ceasefire. Israel attacks across Lebanon, kills at least 254 people in Lebanon. after Iran-U.S. ceasefire. Now, Al Jazeera noted that Israel didn't see fit to honor the ceasefire, while other accounts like the April 8th New York Post piece under the title Iran blocks ships in the Strait of Hormuz with Lebanon ceasefire demand and $2 million toll. That piece noted that Israel didn't think Lebanon was anywhere near Iran, so they could bomb whoever the crap they wanted. The Americans came on side after a while. And the story also noted that Iran hadn't totally blocked the Strait of Hormuz. They were letting through their friends just so long as their friends paid a $2 million toll. I believe most of that toll was a crypto toll, but some tankers guaranteed were getting through the Straits of Hormuz for a fee. Now, the April 8th, 2026, what's going on with shipping on YouTube channel, which is something I just came across. Iran, United States ceasefire. Where are the ships? Straits of Hormuz update April 8th, 2026. That post notes that there still wasn't any ships transiting the Straits of Hormuz, even though the Iranians said there was. And this was a day after the ceasefire was announced. I like the Who's Going with Shipping on YouTube channel because some of the tools we discussed on our Sunday show, open source technologies that allowed you to access primary source material, uncopyrighted primary source material. These guys, what's going on with shipping, use a number of those programs, and they come up with some really good stuff. Now, the next day, April 9th, the April 9th Daily Mail post under the title of eligible U.S. men will be automatically registered for military draft pool beginning in September noted what I perceive of as being an escalation. The U.S. government will automatically begin to register eligible men, American men, 18 to 25 for a military draft pool beginning in December 2026, just in case they have to have an awful lot of boots on the ground. Now, the next day, April 9th, the April 9th Fortune Post on the title of the U.S. government is spending $88 billion a month in interest on national debt. This is debt equal to spending on all the defense programs and all the education programs of the U.S. government, and they're paying more on interest than defense and education. And this story noted the obvious: the U.S. is running out of money. And the next day, it came out on the April 10th War Zone Post. Hezbollah is ramping up drone attacks on Israeli Defense Force in Lebanon. And that story, and I got to give it to the War Zone, they seem to have the best photograph. Getting on a tank and shooting back at an Israeli tank. They must be funded by Israel. But they note that Hezbollah, an ally of Iran, is having great success firing off dozens of low-cost, easily manufactured drones, which are able to overwhelm the small amounts of highly capable but extremely highly priced U.S. and Israeli munitions. So it looks like the Israeli government, the Israeli and American governments are firing $4 million missiles at $4,000 unmanned aerial vehicles, and the Iranians sort of know this. This is part of their strategy. That's why the government hasn't fallen yet, even though the country has been bombed into crap. Now, 3 days ago, after a marathon 19-hour negotiation session, and as outlined in the April 12, only a couple days old, Zero Hedge post under the title, "No Deal, VP Vance leaves Islamabad as Iran talks stall over nukes, and U.S. starts mine clearing Hormuz. And it's obvious, according to J.D. Vance, the peace talks again broke down. So they've been breaking down off and on over the last week, and nobody really knows what's going on. The Iranians are essentially emptying the American war chest. The Americans don't have money to bomb everybody with their multi-million-dollar missiles, and Iran is counting on this. And we finish up with the April 12th, 2026, What's Going On with Shipping on YouTube post under the title of Strait of Hormuz Week 6 Recap. President Trump orders blockades, CENTCOM to blockade Iranian ports. And I like this guy. I think he's really smart. I think he uses some good tools. So here we go. He's going to explain to us what is supposedly going on right now.
And man, things have gone really bananas. And we're going to talk about it. A social media post from the president this morning, a post from U.S. Central Command, and we are ready for week 7 of the Strait of Hormuz crisis, which is going to be even more, what's the word I'm going to use here, batshit crazy than the previous week. So we're just going to kind of go into it and break it down for you. If you're new to the channel, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so be alerted about new videos as they come out. So here's the post by the President of the United States. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I just want to highlight some key things in here. Discussions between the United States, Vice President J.D. Vance, and the Iranians in Islamabad and Pakistan had broken down. So he notes this: effective immediately, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, 100% agree with that, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. At some point, we will reach, and he quotes this in capitals, all being allowed to go in, all being allowed to go out, unquote basis. But Iran has not allowed that to happen by merely saying, quote, there may be a mine out there somewhere, unquote, that nobody knows about but them. This is world extortion, and leaders of countries, especially the United States of America, will never be extorted. I've also instructed our Navy to seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high sea. We will also begin destroying the mines the Iranians laid in the straits. Any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be, capitalized, blown to hell. Goes on here, the blockade will begin shortly. Other countries will be involved with this blockade. Iran will not be allowed to profit off this illegal act of extortion. He then ends up here, we are fully locked and loaded, and our military will finish up the little that is left of Iran. Okay, I don't even know how to say anything about that. It is very difficult to judge U.S. foreign policy based on social media posts. If you read my social media posts, they're a bit crazy at times based on the people who contribute to it. They're great. I love social media. I think it's a great way to get information. I just don't think I do foreign affairs via social media. But here we have the President of the United States saying that. So let's break that down for a second. He says a couple of things. Number one, blockading the Straits of Hormuz. So first thing this morning, he's talking about blockading the Strait of Hormuz, which is a problem because much like we argue with the Iranians have no right to stop the flow of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, neither does the United States of America. So you can't just quite block it. You can't have two blockades. You can't have an Iranian blockade and a U.S. blockade. Both of them would be illegal. The other one here is finding the ships that have paid the Iranian sanctions. I don't know how they're going to do that. They did it through cryptocurrency and other means. I guess we do have methods to find that out. But I'm not sure what the legal justification is to board a ship based on that. If we go back to the boardings that were done during Venezuela, those boardings were done under two provisions. One, the vessels were largely stateless vessels. They didn't have necessary registry for the vessels. They were flying flags that they were not registered in. Or the nations that they were registered in, many of them Panama, gave the U.S. permission to board them, and then those ships had arrest warrants issued to them by the United States, hence the 10 of them were seized. This is a much different issue that we're dealing with. Fortunately, we got clarification just a little while ago from U.S. Central Command out of Tampa. U.S. to blockade ships entering or exiting Iranian ports. U.S. Central Command forces will begin implementing a blockade of all maritime traffic entering and exiting Iranian ports on April 13th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time in accordance with the president's proclamation. The blockade will be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. CENTCOM forces will not impede freedom of navigation for vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports. Additional information will be provided to commercial mariners through a formal notice. All mariners are advised to monitor Notice to Mariner broadcast and contact U.S. naval forces on bridge-to-bridge Channel 16 when operating in the Gulf of Oman and the Strait of Hormuz approaches. All right. You may remember yesterday we were talking about the fact that two U.S. destroyers, the USS Frank Peterson and the USS Michael Murphy, ran the strait, went through the Strait of Hormuz, through the international channel, was in the Persian Gulf for a period of time and left. And let's be clear, there's a lot of issues about this. The Iranians claim that they warned the ships and they ran. I'm going to call bullshit on that. I'm sorry. I just don't believe that for 1 second. I think the crews on the Peterson and the Murphy are some steely-eyed sailors right there to sail through waters that were probably swept by the Navy leading up to this. You wouldn't risk 2 billion destroyers into waters where you suspect there are mines. So let's be clear. The U.S. Navy has been in the Strait of Hormuz. They have aerial drones. They have sail drones. They have these motorized drones called GARCs that are in the area. They probably have submersible drones.
I don't know, Richard. I like what he said. Batshit crazy.
Oh yeah, and it's going to get even crazier. People are not going to be able to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you one thing: there is a goal in all of this. What it is at this point in time is basically the Americans want to keep control of the Yankee buck.
Okay.
The Yankee buck is where they make all their money. Whenever people are buying anything around the world, they buy it in US dollars, which means that it has to go through 2 different currency exchanges in order to complete the transaction, which means every currency exchange, the Americans make a pile of money.
So it's not so much the Yankee buck, but it's the petrodollar.
Well, that's what it was. Yeah. Now it's the Yankee bucks, basically, because it's everything in the world now is you order it in US dollars.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So as a Canadian, that means I have to convert my Canadian dollars to US dollars. And then on the other side, if it's coming from another country, they got to be paid in their currency. So there's going to be another currency exchange that's going to take place there.
Wow.
And they make that's how they made all their money for the longest time.
Yes, I agree. Since I guess 74, 75, the last time there was a currency change.
Yeah, when gold was dropped as the reserve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, and this is going to be changed again because it can only last for so long.
Wow. You're right. Paper currencies tend to last for 100 years or so. I think we're well over that.
Yep. Was the British pound before the sterling pound before the American buck?
Yeah. Actually, I think the sterling had a good run. It had about 150 years, didn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the American dollar is set to collapse in a heap sometime around the I believe it's the 250th anniversary of American independence, which is this year.
Yep, July 1st.
Wow. Anything more before we go on to the next story?
No, I think we should probably go on.
Yeah, we're running short on time. I thought we had 3 short pieces, but it looks like they're long and complex tonight.
Yeah.
Here's an easy one. Former Economy Minister Christine Fléchette has won the Coalition Avenir Quebec leadership race. She did it 2 days ago with 58% of the vote. She became Quebec's 33rd premier and only the second woman ever to hold the office. And she succeeds Francois Legault, who stepped down amid slipping popularity. The new premier is a relative newcomer to the spotlight. She campaigned on economic recovery, streamlining government, and taking cost of living measures to make life easier ahead of an expected fall election, provincial Quebec election. Do you know anything about her, the Quebec premier, Richard?
No, I don't. No, I'm not following the Quebec politics at all.
Me neither. Maybe we'll get back to her sometime when there's an election. Right now, she's kind of a non-person. Her party is slipping in the polls. Maybe the Liberals will take over there too.
Yeah, who knows for sure?
The what?
Who knows for sure?
Maybe. Another person who left office this week is longtime Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, who suffered a historic landslide defeat in Hungary's parliamentary elections. They've lost substantially. Their opponents have a 2/3 majority. The opposition leader, Peter Mayagar's center-right TISA party, he is now the prime minister of Hungary. Now, Orbán was in power for 16 years, and he wanted to stay in power, but there was a lot of voter backlash against alleged authoritarianism, concerns over corruption, and economic pressures. Celebrations evidently erupted nationwide as Hungarians welcomed a return to democratic norms. But it's also worthwhile that Orbán was also the only European Union leader who didn't support increased European Union military aid to Ukraine to support its war against Russia. I think that will cause the Trump White House some concern over the next little while. Richard?
Ironically, I heard that Trump was supporting him to get back into power again.
Orbán or the opposition?
Orbán.
Wow, I thought he would too, and I thought there was good things about Orbán. He believed parents had the right to decide how their kids were educated, and he said some good things, but
too little, too late.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to affect anything. My understanding is that Orbán was the only EU leader who opposed Ukraine joining NATO.
Right. Yeah.
So who's I don't know. We have to sit back and watch.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that's happening there, and I don't know I really don't know if I should be supporting this or not supporting it. But the fact that he was not supporting Ukraine joining NATO was probably something that would have caused the WEF to get involved and basically destroy him.
Maybe he was under a lot of pressure the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes the stuff we write, sometimes the stuff we talk about is like being in the center of a hurricane, and we're trying to track all the dust that goes around us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shall we go on to the next piece of dust?
Sure.
This is the RCMP's discovery of a homemade bomb filled with screws during an arrest in Sherwood Park, Alberta. And this seems to have come at a time of high political polarization in Canada, and it seems to have frightened a whole lot of people. And I don't know what else to say. The suggestion is that somebody was trying to make a bomb in order to do something, in order to strike fear into the hearts of people.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see whether this story gains some legs and we find out more about what's going on, or whether it drops down a memory hole.
Was it built to be able to destroy a number of separatists at any of their rallies, or was it built to destroy any people who were against the separation at their rallies?
Don't know. No information on the person whose car they found it in. No information on his politics. No information on what he was going to, where he was going. It could be I have stories from 20, 30, 40 years ago when the RCMP was so stupid. They burned down barns because the bad protesters were going to meet in the barn, and they had wired by accident the barn next door for sound, and they wanted to hear what was going on. So I don't know where this is going. It's supposed to strike fear into our hearts, but nobody knows what's happening.
Yeah, well, I'm not scared.
Nothing scares you, man.
Why live in fear?
I agree with that.
There's idiots that are trying to control your fear level, so just ignore them.
We've discussed this before. Fear makes us easier to control.
Oh, very easy. Mm-hmm. Very easy. That's why they did that scamdemic, because everybody was scared we're going to catch it. It was just spreading around the world so fast.
Absolutely. It's 6 years after the scamdemic, and most of the people on both sides of that fence are still alive. What better proof is there that the scamdemic was a scam?
It was just a fear tactic.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go on to another fearful story. This one from government. This is the April 10th, 2026 Ottawa Citizen Post under the title, Deputy Minister Says She Was Advancing Diversity when she hired an acquaintance. Actually, she hired somebody who she went to university with. Now, the government's ethics watchdog, according to the story, has found out that Christiane Fox, currently the Department of National Defense's top civilian official, evidently she broke conflict of interest rules by influencing the hiring of someone she went to university with. She wanted to get her friend hired. Now, according to the story, Fox pushed subordinates to hire Bjorn Charles, whom she knew from when they were both athletes in university. Now, she wanted Bjorn hired as a project manager in her department when she was Deputy Minister of Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada. Unfortunately, Charles was black, and I suppose that ticks off a lot of boxes. A guy named Bjorn was black. Isn't that cute? But Bjorn was black, and Fox's spouse was also Bjorn's assistant basketball coach when Bjorn attended Carleton University from 2001 to 2004. Although Bjorn was a good athlete, he also had no formal qualifications whatsoever for his position in the government department. Now, Fox blamed a department mandate to lead a large-scale cultural and organizational change. In essence, she argued that Bjorn, who was black, was a diversity hire. So she didn't disobey any rules or anything. She's not been fired yet. She's not been disciplined. Nobody knows what's going to happen. The government ethics watchdog has released a report, and it will probably drop down the memory hole sometime soon. Richard?
That's ridiculous. I mean, anything to do with that DEI was just stupid, and that's why Trump canceled it.
Yes.
Trump canceled it in the States, but it's still here in Canada.
Yeah. It was such a waste. So many government departments took advantage of it. So many of the DEI, we're going to talk about Nick Shirley a little later in this broadcast. This was in Minnesota. This was last year, and Nick Shirley uncovered a whole bunch of malfeasance related to DEI. And there's a lot of stuff going on in Canada that hasn't reached the public page yet. It's related to DEI, and I don't know. I think if somebody hired me as a diversity hire, I'd be insulted. The perception was I couldn't function on my own merits.
Exactly.
Exactly. I don't know. I just thought you'd get a kick out of that post.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Now this is the Nick Shirley piece. This is according to the April 13th, here we go. There we go. This is the April 13th, 2026 Zero Hedge post under the title, California lawmakers introduced the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Now, that post notes that after making, my apologies, I got the graphics right. Anyway, that post notes that after making waves in Minneapolis by revealing rampant daycare fraud run by Somali migrants feeding on millions in government subsidies and likely funneling some of that money into Democratic political hands, independent journalist Nick Shirley traveled to the Golden State only to find more fraud, including voting scams and medical care scams. He's a podcaster who brings this stuff out, and he talks about it, and he was considered a hero back in the days of Doge. Shirley talked about the consequences of what he's doing in an April 13th post on X. And he noted that California is trying to pass a bill that would criminalize investigative journalism with misdemeanors. Things like $10,000 fines, things like imprisonment, and things like content shakedown. Now, the proposed bill is titled AB 2624 and was proposed to the legislature after Shirley exposed mass fraud by immigrant groups in Minnesota, in America. Now, under the legislation, the California legislation, AB 2624, government-funded entities like the Somalia Leering daycare centers would be protected from being exposed if they operated inside California. It would be illegal to talk shit about government-funded scams. Now, I don't know why the California government is making such a fuss over Shirley. I came across this last week, and I remember a long time ago, as the story goes, the average person commits 3 crimes a day, and any government organization that has all our data could take any one of us down anytime it wanted. Here we go.
Average American on the average day commits 3 felonies every day. If they decide they want you, they don't like your politics, they can get your metadata, find crimes that they can charge you with, and ruin your life. And there's nothing you can do to protect yourself.
What is it that you know about the nature of the reality that we all live in that the average person really has no idea about?
Number 1, John Kennedy called the CIA the best and the brightest. And we're not. We're just average people. And we're not as smart as we think we are. We're not as worldly as we think we are. We've pretty much missed every major global development since 1947, from the rise of the Berlin Wall to the fall of the Berlin Wall to the fall of the Soviet Union to the Suez Crisis and the Iran hostage crisis and 9/11 and everything else. We missed it. We're really good at day-to-day, updates for the president. We're really good at recruiting minor hangers-on around terrorist groups, but the big picture items, we're just not good at it. Number 2, until 9/11, it was against the law, like in stone, to spy on Americans. And now billions of dollars are spent spying on Americans, whether it's NSA or CIA or FBI or intelligence community contractors. Nothing is secret. Nothing. And to make matters worse, let's say maybe you did do something that law enforcement might be interested in. They don't need a warrant anymore. They don't need to go to a judge and say, well, we have reason to believe, blah, blah, blah. All they have to do is just buy your metadata because it's for sale. Just go to the carrier. Just buy it. They don't need a judge's order to do that. It's all out there. We've made ourselves vulnerable. All of our lives are out there, whether it's on Facebook or X or Insta or whatever. If they really want to get you, they're going to get you, which reminds me of a book written by Dr. Harvey Silverglate. He's a professor of law at Harvard, and it's called 3 Felonies a Day. And he argues in this book that we are so over-criminalized, so over-regulated in this country that the average American on the average day going about his or her normal business commits 3 felonies. Every day. You may not mean to, but you do. Every day. So if they decide they want you, they don't like your politics, they can get your metadata, they can go through that metadata, find crimes that they can charge you with, and ruin your life. And there's nothing you can do to protect yourself.
Scary stuff.
So you can protect yourself. You just say, no, I do not consent.
I don't know about that.
Seriously, they run when you start talking like that. You just say no. You don't allow them to do anything. Just say no.
Maybe I used the wrong words, but
Yeah,
I remember back during COVID crossing the border to report on a protest march in Montreal and having my cameraman ripped out of the back seat and taken away.
Oh, but you're going across the border to that French law system out there.
Yeah, I assume we had free rights of passage across Canada. I suppose I was in error.
No, anything to do with Quebec, you don't. It's a different country.
Maybe.
Different legal system.
Said that about it. What do you think of the comments? Or that what do you think of what the guy said?
Oh no, that was actually pretty good. I tend to I tend to agree with some of these people that make these different analysis, because there's nothing I've seen that basically opposes it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Any more to say, or shall we move on to the last piece?
Is that mine?
Absolutely. New, less invasive cancer treatment.
Yeah. Yes. The Sunday I said that we're doing frequencies to deal with our health issues, to treat our health issues, and to cure our health issues. This one is really looking interesting.
This is the April, I think it's 12th. Manga Minds on BitChute post, new, less invasive cancer treatment. Here we go. I found it fascinating.
Behind me is a machine that destroys tumors using sound waves. I'm here at the hospital that's done the most of this type of procedure to talk to the doctor that's done the most of this type of procedure to show you a demo and exactly how this thing liquefies tumors before your very eyes. Let's get into it. Histotripsy is a type of cancer treatment that uses targeted ultrasound waves to destroy tumors in a non-invasive way. And this Edison system made by Histosonics is the only commercially available histotripsy machine for humans on the market right now.
The patient would be laying on the table. This device, which is called the water bath, would be sitting on top of the patient, and we would position this over the tumor to get the patient prepared for the treatment.
The water bath used in histotripsy serves the same purpose as the gel used during ultrasound imaging, preventing air pockets which would diffuse the ultrasound waves and compromise the procedure. The water being used is regular tap water that's run through a special filter to remove any air bubbles.
We're in an operating room, but this is actually not a sterile procedure, so there's no incisions or cuts or anything made on this. The most invasive portion will be getting in an IV so that you can get a sedation, generally give patients anesthesia as well, so they're completely asleep so they don't move once the therapy starts.
The way these concentrated ultrasound waves actually destroy tumor cells is by rapidly expanding and contracting the gases naturally inside them.
This is a mechanical destruction of the tissue rather than a thermal or radiation based. So it's more similar to surgery in that sense, where it's mechanical, so it really liquefies this. This treatment is instant, so as soon as the histotripsy is delivered, the tissue is destroyed. It's not something we have to wait for down the road.
Dr. Burns showed us some before and after images of patients who had undergone histotripsy and how the liver tissue healed after the procedure. Right now, histotripsy is primarily focused on destroying liver tumors, but there's potential for this technology to be applied to tumors in other areas of the body as well.
And so this patient had histotripsy delivered to this tumor. This was her only tumor at the time. 4 months later, we have an MRI showing that basically that entire lesion is resolved. We can see very, very small amount of a little defect here, but just comparing the size from the treatment all the way down to 4 months later, you can see that basically the liver has basically repaired this entire area and reabsorbed all of this. Trial to treat primary kidney tumors has just closed, so we're waiting those results. Hopefully that will be available commercially, in the next year or so. There's a trial to treat pancreatic tumors that's underway in Barcelona in Spain, and that'll be probably coming to the US in 2026. And so histotripsy and histosonics is really a technology platform. This is a new technology. This is going to expand to every organ in the body. Looking at future trials, probably going to come to prostate to treat BPH, enlarged prostate, potentially prostate cancer, can think maybe uterine fibroids, smaller devices, maybe able to treat breast tumors, thyroid nodules, even think about brain tumors. This is going to expand across the entire body, cancerous and non-cancerous conditions.
Air-filled organs like lungs, stomach, and intestines still propose a challenge due to the fact that ultrasound waves dissipate in air. Dr. Burns says a histotripsy procedure can take about 1 to 3 hours depending on how many tumors are being targeted.
Most patients with histotripsy go home a couple hours after the procedure. It's fairly common to have some pain or discomfort where the treatment goes in. For smaller treatments, some patients have no symptoms at all. After the procedure, patients can have some systemic inflammatory symptoms. That generally starts the day afterwards. That's fever, a flu-like illness, just a general malaise feeling. That's very normal. That's the body reacting. This doesn't replace all surgeries, but there may be patients that could benefit from this rather than proceeding to a surgery, which obviously will have more complications, may require hospital stays. And this procedure can also be repeated many times. So as long as the patient's liver function is normal, we can go after multiple tumors either in the same session or over multiple procedures, kind of spread out over weeks or months.
Histotripsy got FDA approval back in October of 2023 and is expanding availability as more machines are produced.
There's probably at least a center near you, if not in your state, at least near. It's available. It's going to be in the UK, other areas in Asia. So this is going to expand globally as time comes. They just have to build enough units.
That's so wild.
It is. It is. And so people, if you have an issue with a tumor, in the case of liver cancer, tell your oncologist you want to have the frequency treatment. If he doesn't know what it is, then tell him to go back to school.
One thing I have to mention, over the last several months, every time you bring in a video, you've been focusing pretty strongly on new medical innovations, new medical inventions, and you're building up quite the corpus of knowledge. It seems that almost there's a revolution in medical care brewing that none of us know about.
That's right. That's right. And I'm catching all these things across different Telegram channels.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I've got, as a matter of fact, I downloaded another one today here, I believe. Let's see if I can bring it back up. Just while the show was going on. Let's see now. That would be for the 17th, I think. Let me just check here. Yeah, 17th. On the 17th. Another one on sunlight. Get it into your eyes first thing in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's another one on tanning beds I'm doing on the 17th also. Again, I've been doing a lot of stories on tanning beds because they basically said tanning beds are not good for you, they cause skin cancer. Well, it turns out that the tanning beds were something that was definitely giving people more health.
Huh.
Because you want that UV.
Mm-hmm.
So the tanning beds.
You go outside, you get it how you get it.
They didn't ban or make them illegal, but they basically heavily discouraged people from using them by saying you're going to get skin cancer. Lies.
Huh.
Yeah.
You've inspired me. At some point, I'm going to go back and look at all the pieces you put together and maybe do a more a more comprehensive piece on all the changing facets of healthcare. Just healthcare is not dying. If you're a government-funded healthcare provider, you keep talking about how everything is so terrible and we're all going to die and we need more money so that we don't all have to die. And there is a revolution going on outside the government-funded healthcare facilities.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So anyways, that's my stories for Friday, actually.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to watch your Friday show then.
Yeah, there's 8 stories there. And I cover a lot of different topics on my stories. I don't make it just focused on one thing because there's too many things to cover out there. And I would be basically, I wouldn't be able to get anything done.
Oh, wow.
If I had to write all this stuff and research it, I let these people who researched it and create it present it.
Wow. Any more to say about this specific story before we wind up for the night?
No, we better wind up. I'm getting tired. I need a nap.
Me too. We're a little over time tonight. That's mostly my diatribes at the beginning of the show. But help me out. What's on your plate for the next couple of days?
Well, tomorrow I'm taking the day off, traveling.
Okay.
And on Thursday, I've got a story put together. Let's see now. I can probably tell you what the title is going to be. 16th. Story on Challenger explosion.
The Challenger explosion, that happened back in the Reagan presidency, I recall.
Yepper. There's a story on it, and it is 27 minutes long. So that'll be on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then, of course, I've got some other special presentations occurring. Let's see now. I broke down the wild ancient conspiracy chart. Here's what it shows. And then, of course, we have another one on libido dominandi.
I don't know what that word is.
Neither do I. But I mean, the story was good. The story was good. So I figured, what the heck?
Okay.
And then sunlight is a remedy and how to heal eyes.
That is something I strongly agree. Go outside. It makes you healthy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So anyways, I think that one's 34 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
The other one on the 23rd is 52 minutes long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, those the days I do the longer shows.
Yes.
You get a lot more information from one person who did all that research and created that video. So as far as I'm concerned, if I were to spend time doing all of that, you wouldn't get the same piece of information because I'd be too busy trying to cover too many stories.
I agree. Sometimes it's good to go into detail on something, on important issues.
Yeah. So on Mondays and on Thursdays, I do the long stories. On Tuesdays and Fridays, I do the 8 stories.
And you start every morning, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the channel scrolling along the bottom of the screen.
Except we are not TV. I don't stream on that one, but I do provide a link to the Twitch channel.
Fair enough.
Because Facebook decided that I was doing human trafficking. Yeah.
Well, that crapped our live audience out. We still get good views, but that crapped out our live audience.
Yeah.
Anyway, I look forward to seeing some of your stuff over the next week, and I'm slowly developing a stronger appreciation for your focus. It takes me a little time to get a hang of this, but particularly your medical stories over the last little while. I think there's something really important in there that maybe we should highlight more in the future. We have to. And that's why I keep putting them out there. Absolutely. As for Freedom Forum, well, there it go. There it goes. My buttons sometimes don't work. For Freedom Forum, and last week today, we normally record every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on a variety of internet platforms, including the one you're watching. We republish the next day with show notes, links to our stories, and some sort of contact so you can follow through our logic and get some sense of where we're really coming from. We republish with notes on our Substack page at chuckblack.substack.com. And most of our stuff slides behind a paywall after a month online. So if you'd like to maintain access, the easiest thing to do is to sign up for a monthly subscription. $20 a month, $160 a year, cheap. It entitles you to access archive posts, anything over a month old, plus includes a lot of in-depth articles not covered in our regular stories. And we also have a Substack app to help you access Freedom Forum stories from your phone and subscriber chat so you can tell us what you really, really want. My name's Chuck Black. I directed this show using StreamYard, which Richard and I both normally recommend. We use it for our programming, our shows, but only if you sign up using either Richard's link or my link. We get a little bonus out of this at the end of each month to help defray some of our costs. And I know I shouldn't say programming. I had a good run. It's been about 8 months since I said programming, so forgive me for that. The show notes will be up on Substack tomorrow, and we'll be back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. with another episode of Last Week Today. And we will also be back next Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time for another edition of Roasting the Press. Did I miss anything, Richard?
Nope, you even covered the stuff that I forgot to talk about.
Thanks very much, Richard. I will see you in a couple days. Always a pleasure to work with you. You have a good day.
Yeah, great time.
Bye.